Hello, how are you? I am Tyra Omiladi, your goddess guru, your sister friend, and I love helping women align with their life purpose using the power of ancient wisdom and the goddess centered lifestyle. Today, I want to show you all how I see the world. Whenever I see things happening immediately as an astrologer, a diviner, somebody who looks at the oracles and looks at patterns, I immediately begin to say, what's going on in that person's astrology, numerology? And so I had this epiphany today. I've been listening to this guy. He talks a little bit of news, but a lot of times it's more of what's happening with people who are well known, could be celebrities, could be other people, and he keeps mentioning Ray J. I don't know Ray J much, of course I know who he is, but I don't follow Ray J. I'm older than Ray J. I've never been into Ray J. But I just decided, okay, let's see. Why does he keep bringing up Ray J? What is Ray J doing? And so this guy's name, channel that I'm looking at, his name is Murad Murali, and he says, why do these men keep coming on and crashing out? I know that I think Justin Bieber is one of them. Hey, I might pause it and put up Justin Bieber because he brought up Justin Bieber the other day. There was someone else, and he says that they need to stop live streaming because when they live stream, you cannot edit that. It's done in real time and they need to get healing, that kind of thing. So it's an interesting take. And I saw Ray J go off on his girlfriend who looks half his age. And then I saw another video maybe from yesterday, Thanksgiving, where he was he was having some type of situation going on with the mother of his child, and she is terrified. You can look at her face and tell she's very upset and scared and that kind of thing. And then he talked about Burna Boy, who I've always sort of liked Burna Boy. It's like that there's the hype of Burna Boy. If you don't know who that is, he is Afrobeat singer, very famous Afrobeat singer out of Nigeria. But at some point, I don't know. It's like I don't have to know what's wrong with a person before I start catching on. It'll just be like, and that's just sort of how I started feeling about Burna Boy. Like he's just okay for me. And then I started hearing about how Burna Boy, he's a Devo, in my opinion. He's a Devo. But anywho, Burna Boy crashed out. I love that word. He crashed out in a concert. Someone fell asleep and he was like, I'm not gonna keep singing if you don't wake her up. If she don't wake up or she don't leave, I'm not singing anymore. And it's like everybody else is cheering for you. Why are you focused on this one person? Right. But this is not the first time that I've been hearing about Burna Boy. So it made me want to look at his astrology also. So that's what I want to do today. For those of y'all who have been here for a while, I love astrology. I love talking astrology. I share astrological reports. I've been in a little bit of a period. I don't know if it's a funk as much of it's like a space of in between. I don't really, I don't know. I have these question marks about what am I really supposed to be doing and sharing. And one of the things that I committed myself to doing was doing things that I like to do on my channel. So if you want to see how somebody can use astrology to explain why things are happening, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm a spiritual guide. But if you want to see what astrology can do for you, it's so easy to see it as we look at astrology for people who are well known, out in the media, that kind of thing. So I'm going to be looking at Ray J and Burna Boy today. And I have to say, sometimes it is kind of hard for me. I know it'll seem like I'm really just hyper focusing on the negative parts of men. First of all, people pay attention to negativity. It's just what it is. We have what's called a negativity bias. But by the same token, I think I am a little bit protective of women. But I don't mean to be putting men down or anything like that. I love men. I don't have any problems with men, right? Now, we're gonna always have our little gender things that's like, okay, we have to work this out. But I don't have a problem with men. And men, they make great headlines right now. So one of my theories, and let's talk about Ray J. One of my theories is that There's something about this sign of Scorpio because we had Jupiter in Scorpio, oh, maybe 2017, 2018, something like that. And I noticed that it really activated a lot of that's when the Me Too movement started. And, so many men got in trouble around things that they had done inappropriately, especially when it comes to, I'm just going to talk internet type of talk, SA type of stuff, harming other people, that kind of thing. And so Scorpio activates that. And I think it also kind of activates Scorpio is a beautiful sign. So if you're Scorpio, no shade. I'm Scorpio rising, no shade. But this is a sign where it's like the darkness. It's the dark side, y'all. Scorpio is the dark side. When it's not in balance, it's the dark side. And as I was looking at Ray J, I was like, he has to have something major going on with Scorpio because we recently had Mars and Mercury meet in Scorpio. It seems like there was maybe back in 22. Hold on, let me get a date. I know what it was. It was in 2022. The South Node was in Scorpio. And that's when we started seeing P. Diddy's downfall, and that's when Will Smith crashed out, if I remember correctly. And if it wasn't 22, it was give or take a little bit of time. But that South Node was in Scorpio, and both of them have planets in Scorpio. And so now we've had this Mercury meet Mars in Scorpio. And that same place where they met, which is 20 degrees of Scorpio, this is where Mercury ends its retrograde. So I just started thinking, okay, this Mercury retrograde is impacting these men significantly. Now, Mercury is also news, so what kind of news are we getting around people who are, doing dark things? But also, I love what Marad says. Marad, he'll go all in on people, but he is saying, hey, these men really and truly are wounded. And instead of getting the help that they need, they're just going live. They're doing things, out in public. And instead of getting help, they're just crashing out in public, right? And also, I just want to tell you, I'm being cozy. So make sure you get cozy with me today. Okay. I meant to mention that. It's cold. And I just said, you know what? We're going to have a nice little cozy astrology chat today. So, as Mercury is getting closer to this 20 degrees, actually is right there essentially because it goes direct tomorrow, Saturday, March 29th. And so Mercury's right there at that point again. And Mercury's just hovering around that point because it has to stop so that it can move direct. And so in order for that to happen, it's like a slowdown, a stop, and then it starts moving forward again. But it doesn't go fast right away. It has to build up the momentum. And so I think that is significant. It's creating, even the live stream piece. That's a mercurial thing, and so I just think that it's creating something for Ray J, something for Burna Boy, something for Justin Bieber. Okay, so things that I saw with Ray J in addition to that, because I was like, something is going on in his astrology chart. So anyone who has planets from 20 to 29 of Scorpio, that Mercury retrograde is significantly, you're feeling that Mercury retrograde in a big way. And if you have anything at 20 from 29, excuse me, 20 to 29 of Taurus, same degrees in Aquarius as well as in Scorpio. He doesn't have anything interacting with Mercury retrograde in Aquarius and Scorpio. But The at 29 of Taurus in the sky right now, it is also for okay, wait a minute. I got ahead of myself. Mercury has gone across this Uranus 2 times. Uranus is the news. Uranus is things being out on the airwaves. So Mercury went across it, went into Sagittarius, came back, went across that Uranus again. So is activating the Uranus, but that Uranus is already activated because down here in Taurus is Uranus in the sky. And it's what we all experience. Once we get into our late 30s into our early 40s, we experience Uranus opposition Uranus. Uranus in the sky, opposition your natal Uranus. And so I remember when this happened, I just gotten into astrology and I was just like, something is wrecking me. And it's like you just get to a point where it almost feels like there's a lot of pressure and you just want to break free. And if you're out of balance, the way you break free is going to be in a bad way. But if you are in balance, you may find a way to channel this energy where it's just like I want to be free. I'm tired of all this pressure. But see, Uranus wants you to elevate. It wants you to go to the next level, but also it's like electricity. It will short circuit you. And that's exactly what Ray J looks like. Again, I have no idea what's going on with Ray J. I don't really know anything about him other than this news. And, he's related to Brandy. But oh, yeah, I was like, oh, he's from Macomb, Mississippi. I forgot they were from Mississippi, which is where I'm from originally. But yeah, I was like, wow, Ray J has a lot going on, and Uranus is tweaking him out. I remember that. It's like late 30s into the mid 40s, you'll feel this transit, and it can make you feel frustrated. I mean, his are in fixed signs, so he probably feels stuck, but he doesn't quite know how to break free, and he's doing his best to break free, but maybe it's moving slowly for him or something like that. So that was the first thing that I saw, which is like, wow, that's a really big deal. I will say one thing that he does have going for him is um, these planets, Saturn and Neptune, they're actually sending positive energy to this Uranus. Okay. But you know what? I don't know his rising sign. Let's see here. His sun sign is Capricorn. Let me just do something really quickly so it's easy for me to see this. Okay, so we're putting this on putting his sun sign as if it's his rising sign, because then I can look at houses and that kind of thing for him. Um, so if we really look at where this is happening, uh, this would be the third house. And then Scorpio for him is this house that has to do with broadcasting a thing. And so there is some blessing, some gift that I think can come in his favor. Maybe I think he was arrested. I didn't even look at the story, to be honest with you. I just came straight to the astrology. Something potentially could work in his favor, but this is the problem. Saturn and Neptune have been interacting with his Uranus over here in Scorpio for years now. It has been giving him chance after chance after chance. And so the blessing may come after a period of hardship, because this is not the first time that Saturn and Uranus have been interacting. Excuse me, Saturn and Neptune have been interacting with his Uranus. And so in both, Pisces and Scorpio, there's signs of healing. So it sounds like there is some sort of healing that Ray J needs. I think that Ray J probably needs to do some type of healing work as well as spiritual work. Um, I took a few notes. So, okay. The other thing that Ray J has not fully playing in his favor is that Jupiter stopped to go retrograde right at the 25th degree of Cancer. And so Jupiter is opposing his sun at that position. I give everything 2 degrees. So Jupiter went retrograde at 25 of Cancer, which means it was sitting right there at 25 degrees of Cancer for a good long while. It was very close to it. And that means it was interacting with that sun. And again, it's that opposition. Okay. It's an opposition and it's creating all this pressure. And if we look at this from his sun sign, Jupiter is actually in the house that has to do with relationships. As a matter of fact, this Scorpio house from his sun sign, we don't know his time of birth, so we don't know his rising sign, but from his sun sign, that Scorpio house is also a house that has to do with relationships and also, like th- things getting out on the internet, news, airwaves, those kinds of things. So there's a lot here going on that has to do with relationships. And so Jupiter is giving him a run for the money also. And his moon is definitely Gemini. I look to see, because if you don't know your time of birth, you're not sure of the degree of that moon, and sometimes you don't know one of 2 signs, which one is it? But I looked to see that the moon was in Gemini the whole day of Ray J's birthday, which is January 17th. And you know what? Look, I hadn't even thought about saying this. Ray J, if you watch this, you are a Capricorn and you have to do things decent and in order. Okay. So you gotta follow the Capricorn way. And Capricorn is another one. Like Capricorn will work hard. Capricorn will do a lot of things where it's like we are getting this done. But when these Capricorns are out of balance, they can be diabolical, okay? So, Ray J, you kind of doing things that are reflecting you need to get in balance. As a matter of fact, all of these planets being 180 degrees or these transits being 180 degrees is like calling for you to have balance. So, what are you going to do to have balance, Ray J? Um and so from that moon, the nodes are giving him a little bit of a run for the money. Like if I were to take this moon and turn this wheel so that the moon is here where Capricorn is, then the nodes of the moon are giving him a run for the money in terms of career. It's like you need to do something new, Ray J. As well as like the foundation of his life, home, family, and he seems a little bit off right now. He needs some healing. So it's three times healing energy that I see for him. Um, let's see here. Also, I talked about the Venus. And then and he has Venus over here in Capricorn square the Saturn Jupiter conjunction over here in Taurus. And so that shows me like that could be something that helps him to be very successful if he channels it properly. If he is doing things in a Capricorn way, he has a plan, he's following a tried and true path, leveraging relationships, maybe even making sure that, his contracts are decent and in order. That can take him very far. But the downside of that transit is it could give him a lot of um, issues with relationships. Maybe Ray J's a little transactional. Does anybody really know much about Ray J? I've always thought he was like a cute kid, but I'm like, no, he's not a kid. He's 44. Ray J is 44. He's not a cute kid anymore, Tyra. Last thing is Ray J is 44. And so he is in what we call an eighth house perfected year. And so when we talk about perfection, it gives us a theme for that astrological year. It's all based on your age. So however old you are, wait a minute, 44? No, he's in the ninth house year. Okay, cool. I looked at this totally wrong. So this is a year where Ray J is supposed to be growing and expanding and seeing things in a whole new way. But the issue for Ray J is if he's out of balance, maybe I think that Ray J is supposed to go in a different direction. This is typically what I feel I see with a lot of these entertainers, celebrities, famous artists. When it's time to go in a new direction, they don't want to, and it just throws everything out of balance. But now that I realize he's actually in a ninth house year, no, Ray J, you're supposed to be going in a whole new direction, and you just need to go on ahead and go with it. Okay, so let's talk about Burna Boy. So Burna Boy is 34. He was born in 91, and his birthday is in July. So he's a Cancerian. And let's see here. What notes did I see? This is why I did my notes beforehand. Oh, okay. The first thing I noticed was outside of his birthday is that he has Venus, Mars, and Jupiter in Leo. And so my thought about that is absolutely a Devo. I mean, that's a lot of planets in Leo. No shade, Leo. I love Leo energy. I love Leos. Leos are awesome. And your sign is your sign. Okay. And the more planets you have in Leo, the more Leo you are. So he's 3 parts Leo. Okay. So, yeah, I was like, he's for sure a Devo. Jupiter makes everything bigger. Mars is like, hey, it's let's just say it has one pointed focus. Leo already is the number one. He's got Mars there, and the number for Mars is numero uno, baby. Okay. And then he has Venus, which maybe can sort of tone things down, but Venus and Mars are connected. And I didn't even pay attention to that. Venus and Mars connected. He might have issues with women. I don't know. I don't know anything about Burna Boy. Like I said, at one point I liked Burna Boy, then I was like, he's just okay. But anywho, Mars being right there with Venus, I don't know. Maybe she's toning them down a little bit. I don't know. So yeah, definitely could have Devo energy. But see, this is the thing. Let's remember Mercury retrograde, everybody. Okay. Let's remember Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is going back to 20 degrees. So it's going from 29 of Scorpio back to 20. It already went from 20 into Sagittarius. Then it came back 29 degrees of Scorpio back to 20 of Scorpio, which means that Mercury retrograde is squaring Venus and Mars. It's like bumping up against them. And so, Burna Boy is irritated. And let me tell you about Scorpio. There are no once Scorpio gets activated, Scorpio is like, we're getting ready to look at this right here, right now. It's very intense energy. I think it's kind of like it's the darkness, but once it gets exposed, once there's something there, like, hey, like Mercury, we're gonna be telling y'all what's here in the Scorpionic house for each individual. We're gonna do a deep dive. And for Burna Boy, it's doing a deep dive, and actually Mars rules Scorpio. So Mercury's bumping up against the planet that actually is in, that actually rules the sign that it's in. And so Burna Boy is, you know, being short, cutting people off. He's irritated and he's not holding back. But Scorpio is the sign of trauma, hurt, wounding, psychological issues. I have no idea what's going on with Burna Boy, but what I will say is it can't be a coincidence. Something is wrong. You have a whole room of people cheering for you, but you're focused on the one person who has fallen asleep. Bruh, that's no bueno. No bueno, Burna Boy. You got you're gonna have to get your focus together. It all happens to everybody. And I have never entered, been in the performing and arts levels that Burna Boy is on. But let me tell y'all, I have been an African dance performer, and There are days when I have said, because I've performed so much and I've taught so much and I've taken my body to the brink, where I said, I really do see how people who do this for a living, long term, end up on drugs, end up burned out, crashed out. I see how it happens. And I was, I'm just like a local artist at that point. And I got so fed up. I just was like, I quit. I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't want to perform anymore because it was just taking me out of balance. So it happens to everybody, Burna Boy. If you watch this, it happens to everybody. And I heard you're not making all the money you want to make. You probably got a lot of pressure on you. You got to do better. If you need some mental health help, you need to get it, because see, this Mercury, it done put you on blast. Okay. I will say Mercury retrograde back into Sagittarius does interact with this Saturn in a good way. So maybe Burna Boy, once Mercury goes back into Sagittarius, because he's doubled down on, like, he had no regrets, nothing, is from what I heard. I wasn't there. But maybe once Mercury goes back into Sag, he'll get some perspective. But I've heard for a minute he's a little bit of a Devo. Okay. Now he does have his moon. This moon is rock solidly in Pisces. So he has the nodes going across this moon. So that's impacting him. We don't know exactly where his moon is, but he is being impacted by that north node being there. And again, what does the north node want? It wants you to go in a new direction. If we look at it for him, let me put his sun on the rising. So yeah, if we look at it for him, his his moon is in the ninth house from his sun. So we look at him as a Cancerian, moon in the ninth house. Um, and it's in Pisces, and the node of the moon is going across that moon, wherever that moon is. We don't know the exact number or the degree of the moon. And the ninth house is about, just like Ray J is in a ninth house year, seeing this moon in the ninth house from his sun is the exact same thing. You got to grow, you got to expand, you got to take yourself in a whole new direction. And maybe you don't need to focus in the United States anymore. Maybe he needs to go other places, because he's already international because he is here. But maybe he needs to think about going other places. Okay. And see, if Mercury, if we're looking at Mercury retrograde and the impact of these planets over here in Leo, it is messing with his money. There's something messing with his money and he's not happy about it. But also maybe there's something about him that Mercury is making him really kind of come to terms with. Okay. Let's see here. What else did I write down about uh Burna Boy? Okay. Jupiter. So Jupiter's in his sun sign. Jupiter has already gone across his sun. So, maybe he's gotten some blessings in that regard. But just like with Ray J, we have Jupiter in this particular case, Jupiter at 25 of Cancer is interacting with planets in Cancer, or points in Cancer. The first one being Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. Okay. And then we have right next to Chiron, Mercury. He probably can get hurt easily, because that Mercury, no matter what his rising sign is, that Mercury is near that Chiron, and he can easily get offended. But it has more to do with like his thoughts. And maybe he struggled with mental illness. I know nothing about Burna Boy, but I would put my money on something in his mind. It's like something clicks. If that one person is asleep, it's like this affront to me. That's what Mercury conjunct um, Chiron can do for you. And so Jupiter stopped at that 25th degree. So that means within 2 degrees of that Mercury and Chiron, because they're at 26 and 25, They've just been sitting there with that Jupiter. Now, Jupiter can bring perspective, it can bring blessings. But one of the things that we have to remember about Jupiter is it's only going to bring blessings if you are doing something blessed. If you are doing something that is, low character, low morality, it's out of alignment with who you are, values, whatever. I'll put it this way, whatever you're doing, Jupiter's going to amplify it. Let's just say it simply like that. And so, in some regards, this could be helping Burna Boy, but right now, I think that it's giving him a little bit of a run for the money, largely because that Chiron is there. Sometimes it can kind of give you perspective, but maybe he's just overwhelmed, and Jupiter's gonna also go across his nodes. So that's something else that he's dealing with. Um, and let's just double check. Burna Boy is 34. Yes, he's in an 11th house year, which in my opinion is a pretty good year. It's a year where there's a focus on earned income from money, being gainful. He has another 7 months, 6.5 months before his birthday comes back around. So he can still work on being gainful because what's going to happen when he goes into that 35th year, he's going to have a challenge and he's going to have a blessing. So 35 is a 12th house year. That's a hard year. That is a hard perfected year. Let me tell you, all you have to do is think back to when you were 11, 23. For those of us who are older, 35, 47. I haven't made it to 59 yet, but those are those were hard years for me. I remember them. They were so hard. And it's just some of the years are going to be harder than others. And a 12th house year is designed to help you to sort of die to the old so that you can step into the new when you get into your first house year when he's 36. But one blessing that Burna Boy has is that Jupiter goes into Leo next year. It'll be sometime actually close to his birthday. Jupiter will go into Leo. So he's going to be having his Jupiter return. So that's a little bit of a blessing. But I think this is the year, his 34th year. It's important for him to think about where does he want to go. You can't just be a broken record and just doing the same thing over and over when you see it's not working. If it's working, why try to fix something that's working? But if it's not working, more than likely there's something new. So I kind of, boil it down to the same thing. Two young men born 10 years apart, um, very different charts, but experiencing themes that are very similar. So that's what I want to share. I'll skip Justin Bieber. Maybe I'll look at him another time, but more than likely it's just going to be the same thing. So I hope that this has been informative to you. I hope that you have felt cozy. Thank you so much for being here. As we always say on YouTube, if you would give the video a like, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I'll be bringing all the things that I find interesting and that I hope show you what's possible when we use this ancient spirituality and technology. I wish Ray J, Burna Boy, all the best. I have nothing against them. Thank them for being in the headlines because I got curious and then I decided, well, let's just talk about them a little bit and share with people. So thank y'all for that. Y'all have a beautiful rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video or next podcast, however you're listening to this. All right, take care. Peace and love.